I am a man. You are watching this very video thanks to Bob Lavari, a man. Now, here is footage of a gorilla beating its chest to show dominance. Never forget it. Stretch it.
Ocean water.
Before I get into today's video, I want to do a shameless plug of my ASMR channel called Tech 25 ASMR. There's a link below in the description, and I have a soothing man voice, and you want to sub to that channel. It's also the top pinned comment. It's fine, it's not a real bird. So due to Canada's digital services tax they have on all U.S. tech firms, Mr. Trump, or President Trump, was not happy. And this is what he had to say about it.
We have just been informed that Canada, a very difficult country to trade with, including the fact that they have charged our farmers as much as 400% tariffs for years on dairy products, has just announced that they are putting a digital services tax on our American technology companies, which is a direct and blatant attack on our country. They are obviously copying the European Union, which has done the same thing and is currently under discussion with us. Also, based on this egregious tax, we are hereby terminating all discussions on trade with Canada, effective immediately. We will let Canada know the tariff that they will be paying to do business with the United States of America within the next 7-day period. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
So there's that. And that's great. Now, why am I talking about politics and the trade war and tariffs and Donald Trump's ocean water?
Ocean water.
It's because due to these trade wars, Nintendo in Canada, this is the most anti-consumer, and this is seriously, I've been doing this for a long time. One of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. Nintendo is raising the price on the Nintendo Switch 1, not 2, the Nintendo Switch 1, and accessories, even digital games. This is what Nintendo of Canada had to say. Now, before the Nintendo Defense Force comes in here and says, hey, they didn't say they're actually going to raise prices. They just said there's going to be a price change. Don't you think they would have actual advertisements and make it and spin it into a positive thing if the original Nintendo Switch, Switch Lite, Switch OLED were getting price decreases? Like, use your brain. Anyway, this comes out of Nintendo of Canada. I'll read this to you, then we'll discuss. Pricing for the original Nintendo Switch family of systems and products in Canada will change based on market conditions, meaning the trade war. They're not going to say that the Trump administration is having a back and forth with Canada. They're going to put it in the most corporate, politically correct way possible. Let me continue. These include Nintendo Switch OLED model, Nintendo Switch Lite, physical and digital Switch games, and Nintendo Switch accessories. Other Nintendo products, including Amiibo and Nintendo Switch online memberships, will also experience price changes. Please note, this pricing does not apply to the Nintendo Switch 2 system, accessories, or software. Pricing information specific to the Canadian market will be shared on the Nintendo Canada website. There you go. They're increasing the prices. Okay, pause, rewind a second here. I don't even know how to compute this. Nintendo is raising the prices. This is a first for me. It's a first ever. They're raising the prices of their previous generation console after their next generation system, or now current generation system, the Switch 2, is out on the market. I mean, talk about anti-consumer. Now, we could go into, again, look, I brought up the trade war that Trump is having with Canada, okay? And Nintendo is using that as the reason, due to market conditions, they're saying that they have to increase the price, which consoles and hardware are already insanely expensive. But to see a console increase in price, an old console, the Switch, the original Switch came out in 2017. How many times would you see throughout a console's life? For example, you would see a bundle of the PS3 or a bundle of the Xbox 360 where it would come with games. And as the console cycle came to an end or the consoles aged, they would get cheaper, more affordable. People who maybe didn't want to pluck down whatever amount of money the consoles were at launch, now they would see the console maybe sometimes would be half the price, sometimes cheaper if you even go further back into the past. And they're like, wait a second, I couldn't afford these before, but now it's this much cheaper and now it comes with games. We're not having that happen anymore. And on top of it too, putting Nintendo aside, Microsoft just did the same thing with their current gen consoles due to market conditions. But at least it's still their current gen console for now. Nintendo is like, hey, that previous gen system that's almost pushing a decade old, you know that one we never really actually did a price decrease on? Well, guess what? It's actually more expensive now. Why would you buy a previous generation Switch with a price increase when the Nintendo Switch 2 is out? The Switch OLED in the States is still $350. Which is amazing to me that it's still the price of that console is that high with how old the Switch is. And now its successor is out and it's only $100 more. Explain that one to me. And in Canada, the Nintendo Switch OLED is 450 Canadian dollars. And they are going to raise the price of it due to market conditions. This is like the most anti-consumer thing I've seen a company do. Now, there's a lot of people speculating out there that Nintendo, due to the Switch 2 being new, and that's the console that's going to, financially support them in the future, that instead of raising the price of the Switch 2 and hurting its sales, they rather raise the price of their previous generation console to kind of soften the blow of what the trade war that's going on is going to do to their bottom line. But really, it's still an absolutely awful look. And to be honest with you, I don't buy that Nintendo could just eat the cost, especially on the Switch 1, with how old it is and how old the tech inside of it is. They can't tell me that the manufacturing process of that is still just as expensive as it was when the Switch launched back in 2017. I just don't believe you. I know throughout time, hardware manufacturers have said it. Throughout time, as the console generation goes on, the manufacturing process, the parts become cheaper, making the consoles becomes cheaper, and they could sell them at a lower price. So even with the tariffs, Nintendo could keep the Switch 1 at least at the same price and still have wiggle room there and just eat the cost. But they're not going to do that. They're going to raise the price on a decade-old piece of hardware and make gaming even more unaffordable for consumers. I don't know where this industry is going. It concerns the hell out of me, but gaming is becoming unaffordable all around, no matter what platform you're on. So, and if you think it's done here, buckle up. But Nintendo, this is something that I know, even with the trade wars, was unnecessary, and you're hurting the consumer by doing this. And again, what also bothers me too is that this is setting a trend. Just like when games became $70 with the 9th generation. Remember that? Where, because there's so much more development costs, we have to raise the price. And I believe one of the first games to do it was like NBA 2K. It's like that was not the game you needed to raise price for development costs on. But that precedent was set. And this is the new precedent that's going to be set. No longer are we in the era where as console generations move on and the consoles get older and the tech ages, that consoles do become cheaper and they become a better value. Actually, the opposite's going to happen now. Whether it's Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo, as time goes on, they can look for excuses to raise the prices of their consoles. And because the consumer is used to it, there you go. They're used to $70 games. They're used to old consoles becoming more expensive, and we make more money. But my concern is that the consumer dollar can only stretch so far. The consumer can only afford so much. These companies are always think that they're comfortable with changing prices and making things more expensive, and people will just buy it. But there's a point where people are like, I just can't afford it. I have other things I have to do. I have other bills I have to pay. The video games now, especially because they're so damn expensive, they're going to have to be put to the wayside until I can afford them, if I can afford them in the future, especially if prices keep going up. So all these companies thinking that people will just eat the prices, no matter how much they raise the prices on consoles and games and digital games too, which is amazing. So all of these companies thinking that the consumer will just constantly accept these price increases over and over and over again across the board. Eventually people are just going to be fed up and have enough. And in 2025, we're seeing almost decade-old consoles getting price increases, not decreases. And it is very concerning. And I don't know where the hell this industry is going to be in a decade. This is Rich Tomorrow signing out. Bob Lavari, 2028.
A man, a man, a man.
Hey, if you watched the whole video, what the hell are you doing? You're not subbed yet? Click that sub button. I live stream here all the time. We have a good time. Make sure to become a subscriber. It's free. Click the button now and hit that bell too. Be a man.